"Get out! You're done here!" Marcus's voice cracked through the heat of the kitchen. Every pan, every knife, every breath seemed to freeze. Jackson stood still, silent. Grease and steam clung to his skin. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from something colder. Marcus snarled, stepping closer. "Take that filthy apron off, and don't come back." Jackson's fingers moved slowly. He untied the stained apron from around his waist, folding it carefully, almost gently. The room watched. No one spoke. No one dared. Then, without a word, he placed the apron down, turned his back. His footsteps echoed between cold steel counters. And in that silence, his voice came, low, steady, carved from something deeper than anger. "They don't know, not yet, who they just threw out of this kitchen." The door closed behind him. The silence stayed. Jackson Cole, 45. Owner of a restaurant empire. His name, printed in glossy magazines, praised in award speeches. A success story. A man who built everything from nothing. But in truth, success felt hollow. Long before the suits, the meetings, the spotlights, Jackson was a chef. A man who knew the heat of the grill, the weight of a knife in his hand. Back then, food wasn't a business. It was a language, a way to speak without words. Now, sitting in his office, he watched that world drift further away. His name sat on the door, but the kitchen felt like it belonged to someone else. He thought of Olive Grove, the first restaurant he built, his pride, his soul. Somewhere in there, something was wrong, and he couldn't ignore it any longer. The reports didn't lie. Numbers falling, complaints rising, fewer guests, worse reviews. Olive Grove slipping away. Jackson sat at his desk, the papers heavy in his hands, his chest heavier. He remembered the early days, the soft clatter of cutlery, the warmth of laughter, the smell of fresh bread rising from ovens he once stood beside. That was Olive Grove, his Olive Grove. Now, cold data, dry statistics, and a name he didn't want to read again, Marcus Vance. Appointed 6 months ago, promoted fast. Too fast, and rumors. Whispers Jackson could no longer ignore. Staff quitting, deliveries missing. A manager feared more than respected. Jackson pressed his fingertips together. Olive Grove wasn't just losing money, it was losing its soul. And he knew. No report could tell him how deep that damage went. He had to see it, with his own eyes. Enough. Jackson stood, slowly. No more emails, no more reports, no more waiting. He moved to the closet. The tailored suits hung neatly in a row, his uniform of success, but not today. He reached past them, pulled out an old gray hoodie, worn at the edges, a memory of the man he used to be. Sliding it over his head, he felt the change. Immediate, subtle. Success had taken him far, but today it couldn't help him, not where he needed to go. He grabbed a cap, pulled it low, looked at himself in the mirror. Not Jackson Cole, the owner, just a man looking for a job. The decision was made. He whispered to himself, calm and certain. "They'll never see me coming," and he stepped out of the door. Olive Grove stood ahead. The same brick walls, the same ivy curling along its edges. But to Jackson, it looked smaller now. He stopped, just stood there, watching. This wasn't just a building. It was history. Memories of first customers, first laughs, first victories. He could still hear the sound of knives against boards, the low hum of conversations, the quiet pride of a young chef once standing where he now stood, but that warmth was gone. Now the windows felt darker, the silence heavier. Jackson's jaw tightened. His hands curled into fists. He didn't need reports to tell him something had changed. His heart already knew. He took a breath, then a step forward. Time to go home, not as its owner, but as its last hope. "What's your name?" The voice cut through the kitchen. Sharp, tired, distant. Jackson looked up. Marcus Vance. Tall, clean-shaven, a jawline too sharp for someone so careless, eyes that didn't see people, only problems. Jackson answered softly, "Jack." Marcus didn't care enough to doubt. He barely looked at him. "We're short-staffed. You wash dishes?" Jackson nodded. Marcus checked nothing. No questions, no background. He just wanted a body. Someone silent. Disposable. "Fine. Start now. Don't slow down. Don't ask questions." Jackson watched him turn away. Cold. Mechanical. The man entrusted with his dream. And he didn't even see it. Jackson said nothing, but inside, the words burned. "That's the man I trusted? No more." The kitchen was silent. Not the good kind of silence, not focus, not teamwork. It was fear. Jackson watched the staff move like shadows, heads down, eyes lowered. No words exchanged, no smiles shared. Every motion rushed, yet lifeless. This wasn't his kitchen. From the corner, a figure appeared. Chef Daniela. Her hair, once tied back with pride, now hung loose. Lines of exhaustion marked her face. She didn't shout instructions. She didn't lead. She just moved, like the others. Quiet. Broken. Jackson remembered her differently. A fighter. A voice that once carried across the entire kitchen. Now, even her footsteps seemed to apologize. Jackson felt something heavy settle in his chest. This place wasn't just struggling, it was dying, and they were too tired to save it. Water burned against his hands. Plates stacked endlessly, the sound of metal clashing, the weight of silence heavier than the trays. Jackson worked without a word, without slowing. Every dish scrubbed, every stain erased. His fingers numbed. His back already ached. He didn't care. This wasn't work. This was watching, listening, feeling. Every order shouted told him something. Every face told him more. These people weren't lazy, they weren't careless, they were surviving. And he was among them. His voice came soft inside his mind. "This used to be my home." He kept scrubbing. Plates, bowls, more plates. But none of them felt clean. Not when the soul of his restaurant lay buried under silence. "Short again, pay for it." Marcus's voice cut through the steam. Liam froze. His hands shook, holding a small crate of missing supplies. Flour, oil, gone. I don't have that money, sir." Marcus stepped closer. His tone turned colder. "Then find it. I'm not covering your mistakes." Liam lowered his head. His lips trembled, but no words came. Jackson watched from behind the sink. Silent. Eyes sharp, breathing steady. He said nothing. Did nothing. Yet. But inside, something tightened. That boy wasn't stealing. Jackson could see it. He could feel it. Liam was scared. Cornered. Marcus didn't see fear. He saw weakness. Jackson clenched his fist beneath the sink. This wasn't management. This was cruelty. And Jackson knew. This moment wasn't the last. Only the first crack. After the shift, Jackson found Liam sitting alone behind the kitchen, head down, shoulders shaking, hands empty. Quietly, Jackson approached. No words, no questions. He slid a small envelope beside the boy. Folded. Unmarked. Liam looked up, confused. Jackson didn't meet his eyes. He just nodded once, firm but calm, then turned away. "Why?" Liam's voice cracked behind him, but Jackson kept walking. No answer. No explanation. It wasn't charity. It wasn't pity. It was something simpler. Someone had to care. Later, from the shadows, Jackson watched Liam open the envelope. His hands trembled more than before. Inside, just enough money. No note, no name. Liam looked around, searching, but no one was there, and Jackson whispered to himself, low, steady. Hope doesn't need to explain itself. Jackson kept his head down, but his eyes missed nothing. At the back door, a delivery truck arrived. Boxes unloaded. Fast. Sloppy. Marcus stood beside the driver, clipboard in hand. He didn't check. He didn't count. just signed. Quick flick of the wrist, no questions. Jackson watched the boxes. He knew that list by heart. He built it. Premium oils, imported cheeses, specialty cuts of beef, but only half the boxes came inside. The rest vanished. No records, no explanations. Just gone. Later, Jackson saw the inventory sheet, handwritten corrections. Numbers scratched out, adjusted. Clean, but wrong. Marcus's signature sat at the bottom, calm, confident. Jackson stood in the shadows, heart steady, mind sharper than ever. This wasn't mismanagement, it was theft, hidden in plain sight, and Marcus signed every page of it. "You see it too, don't you?" Riley's voice came low, just loud enough for Jackson to hear. She stood beside him near the dish station, pretending to stack trays. Her tone was flat, her eyes were sharp. Supplies vanish. Orders never match. And Marcus? He doesn't care. Jackson didn't answer. He kept washing, kept listening. Riley paused, looked at him. "Why don't you say anything?" Still, silence. Still, steady hands. Riley shook her head. "Thought so. Everyone's too scared," she stepped away. But her last words stayed. "Something's wrong here, Jack. Very wrong." Jackson watched her leave. The plates in his hands felt heavier. He said nothing. But inside, one thought echoed clear. She's right, and soon someone would have to prove it. Late at night, Jackson waited in silence. The back alley smelled of grease and rain. But he didn't move. He just watched. Minutes later, Marcus appeared. Calm, confident, not rushed. A man in a dark jacket met him near the loading dock. No words, just nods. A few boxes changed hands. The same boxes Jackson saw missing earlier. Marcus scribbled something on a clipboard, slipped it inside his coat, took a quick envelope in return. Money. Jackson's chest tightened. He felt no anger, not yet. Only certainty. Marcus wasn't careless. He wasn't lazy. He was stealing. Systematically, repeatedly. And no one knew. But now Jackson did. From the shadows, he whispered to himself, "You're not just hurting my business. You're hurting my people." And that he wouldn't forgive. During a break, Jackson slipped into the storage room. Quiet, empty. He searched fast but careful. No noise, no trace. Then he found it. A small folder, tucked behind a stack of old menus. Inside, invoices, neatly written. Too neat, too clean. Supplies marked as delivered. Quantities full, signatures intact. But Jackson knew. Those supplies never arrived. Not once. He ran his finger along the list. Premium items, expensive cuts, imported oils, items he'd seen missing from the shelves. At the bottom, Marcus's name, signed bold, proud. Jackson folded the papers silently, memorizing every figure, every lie. Proof, not complete, not enough, but real. He whispered, cold and low, "Paper trails don't burn easy, Marcus." Then he slipped the folder back. No one would know he was here. Not yet. In the corner, Liam spoke softly into his phone. He thought no one heard. Jackson did. "I'm fine, Mom. I'll bring medicine tomorrow. Just try to sleep, okay?" A pause. His voice cracked. "No. I can't leave this job. I can't." Silence. Then, "I'll figure it out. I promise." Jackson stood behind the shelves, unseen, listening. For the first time, his expression changed. The lines around his eyes tightened. His jaw clenched. This wasn't just a scared boy anymore. This was a son. Fighting. Alone. Jackson looked down at his own hands. Calloused. Strong. Hands that once fought the same way. He closed his eyes. "I see you, kid," he whispered inside, "even if no one else does." Then, quietly, he stepped away, leaving Liam to his silence. "Too slow, Daniela, again." Marcus's voice rang out across the kitchen, Harsh, loud, cruel. Daniela froze, hands trembling over the cutting board. She said nothing. "I don't care how long you've been here. Fix it, or leave." Her shoulders shook, but she stayed silent. A single tear slipped down her cheek. She wiped it fast, and kept chopping. No one moved. No one spoke. Jackson watched from the sinks. His heart tightened. Daniela, the woman who once taught him how to hold a knife. Now, reduced to this. He felt anger rise, not loud, not wild, just steady, controlled. Marcus turned, walked away. Daniela stayed at her station, hands steady, voice gone. Jackson whispered inside, "You break her spirit, Marcus, and I'll break your game." Late at night, when the others left, Jackson stayed behind. Daniela's station stood empty, knives dull, boards cracked, broken handles left untouched. No one cared anymore. But Jackson did. In silence he worked, cleaned the boards, sharpened every blade, repaired the drawer she'd given up opening, reset every tool, every corner, every detail. This wasn't for recognition, it wasn't a lesson, it was respect. When he finished, he stood back, looked once at the empty station, his heart heavy, his mind clear. Tomorrow. Let her remember who she is. And then he left. Quiet, unseen. By morning, Daniela would find no note, no clue, only her station, restored. A silent message from someone who still believed in her, even if she didn't. Yet. Shift's not over. Stay late. Marcus's order came without emotion, just another demand. Liam hesitated. Riley tried to speak. Marcus cut her off. "No complaints. You'll get something for it." He tossed a box toward them. Expired bread, leftover stock, payment in scraps. The team said nothing, their silence louder than anger. Jackson watched. Every second burned deeper. This wasn't leadership. This was control. He could see it. Marcus didn't want workers, he wanted obedience. Riley picked up the box. Her eyes met Jackson's for a moment. Sharp, tired. Jackson's voice stayed silent, but his heart whispered clear. "You can't break people like this forever, Marcus. Not while I'm here." And quietly, he returned to the sink. For now. Jackson stood in silence. He let himself watch. Not the food, not the plates, the people. Liam, moving slower, eyes hollow. Riley, shoulders tense, voice gone. Daniela, hands steady, soul missing. Every face carried the same story, exhaustion, quiet defeat. No one laughed, no one joked, no one looked up anymore. The sound of the kitchen wasn't life, it was survival. Jackson's chest tightened, not from anger, from sorrow. This wasn't his restaurant, not anymore, and yet, it was still his responsibility. He whispered inside, "Look at them, Marcus. This is what your success looks like." And then he turned back to his station, hands steady, voice silent. For now. Jackson watched Marcus pace the kitchen. Orders shouted, faces ignored, theft hidden behind confidence. Jackson's hands moved on autopilot, scrubbing, drying, stacking, but his mind sharpened, focused. He had seen enough. Proof wouldn't be enough. Not here, not yet. Marcus needed to fall, and Jackson knew how to make that happen. Let Marcus reveal himself. Let him burn his own mask, in front of everyone. Jackson breathed slowly. "You want control, Marcus?" A pause. Calm, certain. "Then I'll let you think you have it." He looked down at his scarred hands. Quiet, still, strong. "Let's play." In that moment, Jackson Cole wasn't a dishwasher anymore. He was a hunter, and Marcus was already caught. He just didn't know it yet. "Boss, we're missing truffle oil again." Jackson's voice rang clear across the kitchen. Calm, almost casual. Every hand paused, every eye lifted. Marcus turned, slow, his stare sharp as broken glass. What did you say? Jackson wiped his hands dry, looked Marcus dead in the eye, his tone steady. Third delivery this week. Missing stock. Thought maybe you'd know. Silence. Heavy. Marcus's jaw tightened. Then, a forced smile. Cold. Thin. Your job's dishes. Do that. Jackson nodded once, slowly, calmly. Right. Dishes. He returned to the sink, movements measured, controlled. Marcus watched him for a moment longer, eyes narrowed. Suspicion stirred. Exactly as Jackson wanted. One move played. Now he waited for Marcus to react. The game had begun. Plates piled higher, dishes slowed, water splashed. Jackson moved slower than usual. Just enough to notice. Just enough to matter. Marcus noticed. What's your problem? Jackson glanced up. Calm. Steady. Just backed up. Missing help. Remember? Marcus stepped closer. Anger under his skin now. Move faster, or don't come back. Jackson let a plate slip. A soft clang against metal. Not broken, just loud enough. Marcus's eyes burned. Don't test me, Jack. Jackson met his stare. Said nothing. Let the silence answer. Marcus turned away, cursing under his breath. Jackson watched him go. His hands now steady, his breathing calm. He whispered inside. That's right. Come closer. Show them who you are. And he returned to work, just slow enough to keep the pressure rising. Enough! Marcus's shout cracked the air like a whip. Pans froze mid-air. Knives stopped mid-chop. Every head in the kitchen turned. Marcus stormed toward Jackson, his voice sharp, his breath heavy. You think you're smart? You think you can question me? In my kitchen? Jackson stood still, calm, unmoving, hands wet but steady. I asked a question. His tone was quiet, deliberate. Marcus snapped. You're nothing here. A dishwasher, a nobody. If I say move, you move. If I say jump, you ask how high. Riley watched, eyes wide. Liam's hands shook beside the fryer. Jackson held Marcus's stare, his voice cold, controlled. I don't fear you. The words hit harder than any shout. Marcus, breathing heavy, didn't answer. He couldn't. Without warning, Marcus shoved him. Jackson's back slammed against the metal counter. Hard. A knife slid off the board, hit the floor. Loud. The kitchen froze. No sound. No movement. Riley gasped. Liam stepped back. Daniela dropped her spoon. Marcus stood over Jackson, chest heaving, face red, eyes wild, his hands still clenched, trembling. Jackson said nothing, his breathing slow, his body steady. He stayed down for a moment longer, then slowly, he stood. No anger, no fear, just calm. Marcus looked around, faces staring, fear and disbelief staring back. In that silence, everyone saw it. Not a leader, a bully. Jackson wiped his hands, looked Marcus in the eye, voice steady. You just showed them who you are. Then he stepped back, let the silence speak. Get out! Marcus's voice cracked, loud, ragged, desperate. Get out of my kitchen, you're fired! Gone! Jackson stood still. No reply, no resistance. His breathing calm. He reached for his apron, untied it slowly, folded it once, twice, neat, precise, hands steady. He placed it down on the counter, deliberate, quiet. Then he looked up, not at Marcus, at the staff, at Riley, at Liam, at Daniela, and for the first time, he smiled, a small smile, thin, knowing, not of defeat, not of weakness, a victory, just not the kind Marcus understood. Jackson turned, walked away, step by step, without a word. Behind him, silence, except for Marcus's ragged breathing and Jackson's voice inside his mind. Checkmate's coming. They watched him leave. No one moved. No one spoke. Riley's lips parted, but no words came. Liam gripped the counter, knuckles white. Daniela stood frozen, eyes glassy, unsure whether to speak or cry. The door swung shut behind him. Silence filled the kitchen. Not fear, not relief. Something colder. Confusion. Who was he? Why did he smile? Why did it feel like Marcus hadn't won? Jackson's footsteps faded into the distance, and in that silence a voice whispered. Calm, certain, inside Jackson's mind. It begins now. The plan wasn't over. It had only just begun. In the quiet of his hotel room, Jackson worked. No noise, no distractions, just focus. Invoices spread across the table. Photos lined up in rows. Delivery lists falsified. Stock counts missing. Marcus's signature on every page. Jackson's fingers moved fast. Precise. Controlled. Every piece of evidence locked into place. Hours passed. He didn't care. Fatigue meant nothing now. He built empires before. Now, he was building a case against the man who tried to destroy his first home. Jackson leaned back, looked at the folder. Complete, clean, unbreakable. The final step was clear. Tomorrow, he would stop hiding. Tomorrow, Marcus would answer. He closed the folder, tightened the strap, and whispered softly to himself, "See you soon." Morning light touched the walls of Olive Grove, and Jackson Cole returned. No hoodie, no cap, no shadows. Today, he wore the suit. Dark, sharp, clean. The same one he once wore when building this place. He stepped forward, slow but steady. Every stride carried weight. Every step erased the man they thought they knew. He passed the front windows. Staff inside glanced up, confused, nervous, silent. Doors opened. He entered, calm, unshaken, eyes forward. Jackson Cole, the owner, had come home. No more pretending, no more silence. This time, they would see him, and Marcus, he would understand. Too late. The room froze. Knives stopped. Plates hung mid-air. Conversations died mid-sentence. Marcus turned, confused by the silence. Then he saw him, Jackson Cole, standing tall, straight, calm, wearing the suit, wearing his name. Marcus stepped back. His voice failed. His breath caught. His face turned pale. Riley's hand shot up, covering her mouth, eyes wide, heart racing. Liam stared like seeing a ghost. Chef Daniela dropped her spoon, whispered only 2 words. "It's him." Marcus's lips moved. No sound came. In that silence, Jackson took 1 step forward, then another. His voice came low, clear, unshaken. "Now you know." Their dishwasher had always owned the keys to this place, and their nightmare had just begun. Marcus found his voice, barely. Who are you?" Jackson didn't blink, his tone flat, his eyes colder than steel. "I'm Jackson Cole." The name cut through the air. Sharp, unstoppable. The staff gasped. Riley stepped back. Liam's mouth opened, but no words came. Daniela's hand trembled over the counter. Marcus staggered, shook his head once, twice, his world cracking. That's impossible." Jackson stepped closer, calm, measured. No anger, no pity. "I built this place, and you tried to steal it." His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. The weight behind every word crushed the silence. Then he looked straight into Marcus's eyes. "And now, you'll answer for it." Jackson placed the folder on the counter. Calm, precise. Every missing delivery, every forged invoice, every signature. He opened it. Pages spread like open wounds. Silence swallowed the kitchen. Daniela stepped forward. Her hands shook as she picked up a paper. Her eyes scanned the numbers, the name at the bottom. Her voice cracked. This is Marcus's handwriting." Liam leaned in. Riley clutched her apron tighter. Jackson spoke quietly. Every theft, every lie, recorded, signed. Marcus stumbled back. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Daniela's breath caught. "You've been stealing from us." Jackson met Marcus's eyes. Calm, cold, unforgiving. "You thought no one was watching," and he slid the last page forward, the final proof. "But I was. And now, so was everyone else." Marcus shook his head. His voice cracked, small. "It's not what you think. I had to. The suppliers. The margins." He stepped back, eyes darting, searching for a way out, for someone to believe him. No one moved. No one spoke. Marcus's confidence shattered. His power gone. His lies empty. Jackson watched in silence, calm, still. Then his voice came, low, final. "You're out of chances." Marcus froze, his breathing shallow, his hands trembling. Daniela stepped back. Riley looked away. Liam clenched his fists. No one stood beside him now. He wasn't a manager anymore, just a man exposed. And Jackson? He didn't need to say more. Marcus already knew. It was over. Footsteps echoed. 2 security guards entered. Silent, professional. Marcus backed away, shaking his head, voice brittle. "No. Wait. I can explain. Please. I built this place. I kept it alive." No one answered. Jackson stood still, watching. His eyes calm, his face unreadable. Marcus reached out, grasping at air, at memories, at power long gone. The guards took his arms. Firm. Final. Marcus looked at Jackson one last time, eyes full of something worse than fear. Regret. Jackson said nothing. He didn't need to. The door opened. Marcus was led out. Step by step. His footsteps no longer loud, no longer important. Silence followed. Heavy. For Marcus, Vance, the kitchen was gone. Forever. Silence held the room. Thick. Heavy. Unmoving. Then, a single clap. Daniela. Another followed. Riley. Then Liam. Then all of them. Together. Applause broke through the fear, through the weight, through the months of silence and shadows. It wasn't loud. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. Liam cried quietly. His shoulders shook. He wiped his eyes with the back of his sleeve, but the tears kept coming. Jackson watched them. Let them feel it. Let them breathe again. No words, no speeches, just relief, just freedom. He whispered inside. "It's over. Not for him. Not yet. But for them." Today, it was enough. Jackson stood alone. The kitchen was silent now. No shouting, no footsteps, no fear. Just the hum of old machines and the faint smell of bread that hadn't been served. He looked around, slowly, at the walls, the counters, the scars on the floor where knives had fallen, his kitchen, his dream. But it didn't feel like victory, not yet. His hands stayed in his pockets, his shoulders heavy, his eyes distant. Success had come at a cost. Jackson breathed once. Deep, slow. "I let this place break." The words stayed inside. He stood there longer, not because he had to, but because he couldn't leave. Not yet. The silence wasn't peace. It was regret. Jackson faced them, quiet, steady. No paper, no notes, just truth. A restaurant is not a business. The staff listened, breath held. It's a home, a place where people work, laugh, fight, grow, where food isn't numbers on a page, it's care, it's memory, it's dignity. He paused, looked into their faces. And somewhere along the way, I forgot that. His voice softened. I thought building more meant I was winning, but I left this place behind. I left you behind. Silence. But that ends now. He looked at Daniela, Liam, Riley. We rebuild. Together. No one clapped. No one cheered. They didn't need to. Jackson's words weren't for applause. They were a promise. Liam stood still, eyes low, hands shaking. Jackson stepped closer. No words at first, just presence. Calm. Solid. Then, his hand rested on Liam's shoulder. Steady. You owe me one thing. Liam looked up, tears still fresh. Jackson's voice softened, but the weight remained. Become the best chef in this place? Liam's lips trembled. I don't know how. You will. Jackson's tone left no doubt. Because now, someone will teach you. The right way. Liam broke then. Not in fear, not in shame, in hope. Jackson's grip stayed firm. His voice quiet. You're not alone anymore, kid. Liam nodded, too choked to speak, and, for the first time in months, he believed it. So did Jackson. Daniela reached out first. Her hand, calloused but steady. Riley took it. No hesitation this time. Liam stood frozen, then slowly placed his hand over theirs. 3 hands, 1 promise. No words were needed. The silence spoke louder. Around them, the kitchen stood broken, scarred, but waiting. Together, they would rebuild it. Jackson watched from a step away, his heart heavy but proud. This wasn't just a team anymore. It was a family. They held on, tight, firm, steady. Not because they were strong, but because they refused to fall again. A quiet moment. A shared truth. From now on, no one stands alone. And Jackson let them have that moment. Because it belonged to them, not him. A restaurant doesn't live from profits. It lives from people. From hands that chop. From voices that call orders. From hearts that refuse to give up. Jackson's voice came soft. Not broken. Not victorious. Just true. I forgot that once. He paused. A quiet breath. But not again. He watched them, Riley, Daniela, Liam, building something far more fragile than walls. Trust. And maybe that's what a restaurant really is. Not walls, not tables, not money. A promise. A promise kept alive by those who believe in it. Jackson closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. I won't forget again. And the words stayed. Long after the voice faded, Riley stood beside him, quiet, careful. Then her voice broke the silence. Why did you come back? Jackson didn't answer at first. He looked at the kitchen, at the people, at everything lost and found again. Then he smiled. Small, honest. To find myself. Riley said nothing. She didn't need to. Jackson stepped forward, slowly, calm, and as his voice faded, yours can begin. Have you ever seen a good person treated unfairly? If yes, type, I've seen it. Because somewhere, someone like Jackson might still be fighting, and maybe your words could be the reason they don't give up.